I'm SD, we are learning how to tailor, but hang on, everything seems really kind of straightforward and it makes sense. You understand that your sewing machine is asking you 3 questions. What kind of stitch do you want to make? How long do you want it to be? And how wide do you want it to be? But there's one setting that trips everybody up and it seems really confusing and complicated, but the only reason why it seems that way is because you might be like me and you have it backwards. This is my thread tension right here and the numbers go from 0 to 9. 9 is really tense and tight, and 0 is loose. And your numbers might be completely different from my numbers, but here's a really easy way to figure out what's what. Kind of move the knob or the dial around a little bit and just see how it feels. If it starts to get harder to turn or you feel more resistance, that means your stitch is getting more tense. Yeah, pretty easy, huh? Okay, that makes sense, SD, but I don't really get it. Like, what do I set it at? Okay, well, here's where I got confused, and you might get confused too. And let's use 2 examples that you might run across. Let's say you pick up a nice new flannel shirt or some awesome looking denim jeans and you want to tailor them to look better on you. Your normal thought process is probably gonna be like mine. It was to set my stitch tension as high as it could go because it was a thicker material, so I wanted to make sure that my stitch was really strong and tight. See, that's where it's tricky. That's not how it works at all. If you set your tension too high and your material is too thick, what ends up happening is your stitch pulls really hard on everything and then your fabric ends up looking all wavy when you're done. So if you're sewing something and you're done, you're looking at it like, what's up with all these ripples, man? That might be why. Check that. Well, let's say you got something that's a bit more loose, like a jersey or a pair of curtains. I was dating a girl one time and she had me hem her curtains for her. Shut up! Well, your logic again is probably gonna be to set your stitch tension a little bit too low because you're thinking that you don't wanna have a tight stitch. You don't want those stitches, pulling down on your garment too much. See? That's why it's tricky. It's the complete opposite. You want to set your tension higher because if it's too low, it's gonna look like those stitches are barely doing anything. It's gonna look like they're just in there, not really doing much. Let me give you an example. I did that to a t-shirt one time. I had the stitch tension way too low. I decided to reach over my head to get something on its shelf, and I happened to look down at my shirt at the side seam, and I'm like, what? Because the seam is kind of doing that. Everything was pulling apart because my tension wasn't high enough. And just my luck, of course, there's some woman standing right next to me admiring my hack job that I did on my t-shirt. Yeah, it was awkward. So basically it works like this. The thinner the material, the higher the number, and the thicker the material, the lower the number. If I'm doing a t-shirt or a dress shirt, I'm usually gonna settle around 6 or 7 on my machine, and I will not touch it again. Nah, that's not true, until I decide to go back and do pants. At which point, I'll loosen it up a little bit. I'll go down to like 2 or 3. Boom, done, you mastered it. Now go have at it on those baggy clothes. SD out. See ya.